Hi, my name is Alyssa Tracy, and this is my speech entitled Pet Adoption. Imagine getting a painful shot. From the shot, you start to fall asleep. You start to get hazy, and noises become silent. This all sounds like normal side effects of certain medication and going into surgery. But what if you never woke up from the shot? What if the shot permanently puts you to sleep forever? Millions of animals from all parts of the world are euthanized each year because they did not have a loving family to go to. Many of them are just hoping to have a space to run around in besides a cage. Having adopted many animals in my family and having volunteered in shelters through high school, I have witnessed the first-hand account of the joy that overcomes people when adopting an animal who really needs a home. Today I am here to encourage you to become a loving owner of an adopted animal who really needs a home. I know that not all people can physically adopt an animal, and that's why I'm also here to discuss how donations through organizations such as ASPCA and the Humane Society can help rescue these animals and get them ready for adoption. First, I want to discuss the animals themselves, what they've been through, the statistics of the horrifying facts that happen to these animals every single day. Second, I want to go through the different processes of adoption that is appropriate for each person, whether it be physical adoption, adopting through donation, or finding somebody to adopt an animal that you are no longer able to take care of. And then finally, I want to go through the joy that comes along with the adoption process. Let's start by looking at the terrifying statistics. According to ASPCA.org, approximately 5 million to 7 million animals enter a shelter every single year, and approximately 3 million to 4 million of them are euthanized each year, 60% of dogs and 70% of cats. Most of these animals enter shelters because they were abandoned or because they were being abused. Over 500 animals every day die because of animal abuse, and over 300,000 every year. It's pretty obvious that animal abuse is a huge problem in America and in the countries around us. Animal abuse is a hard thing to witness. It's hard to understand. But what's sometimes even harder to understand is abandonment. Most of the animals entering shelters today have been abandoned by their owners. Or as PrimeBeta.org states, they also called it owner surrenders. I understand that it can be hard at times to keep up with an animal. Certain troubles present themselves that make taking care of an animal even harder. But the answer isn't necessarily throwing them out on the street or dropping them off at a shelter. There's other ways to go about it. So now I'm here to discuss the different options which one can adopt an animal, whether it be physical, through donation, or how to get an animal that is currently theirs a good home. The first step is the basic adoption process. The first thing to knowing about adopting an animal is knowing if you're ready to do it. No one wants to get in over their head and be like, oh, I want a cute puppy and it's time for me to adopt. It's something that's a really inner channel thing that you have to connect with yourself and be like, I'm ready to take the responsibility of adopting an animal and welcoming an animal into my home. Once you have realized that you're ready for this, start doing research on the shelters around you. Find one that you connect with. Most large cities have many shelters, and usually one steps out more than the other. Once you have found the shelter you want to work with, call them. See when their adoption hours are. See when their visitation hours are. Most shelters allow you to come in, walk around, look at the animals, and if you feel connected to one animal, they will put you in a separate room so that you can get to know that animal better. After going through all that process, you find the animal that you want to be yours. And then the easy part comes, the paperwork. All that the paperwork does is explain to you their age, their genealogy as best that they can find it, and their shot records. And most times today, the good thing about adopting an animal from a shelter is that they always come spayed or neutered, because their motto is trying to stop overpopulation of animals, and that is only eliminated through spaying and neutering an animal. They also, most of them, insert a microchip within an animal, which is used to help activate and find them if they've run away from home or they are lost. The unique thing about adopting an animal from a shelter is that they're not always going to be a puppy. I know people, when they think of adoption, they want to get a puppy. They want to raise them for themselves. They want to be able to train them. But what about the older animals who have been in a shelter their whole entire life or who were abandoned? The unique thing about adopting from an animal shelter is that every animal is going to have their own personality. They're not going to all be a puppy that's cute and soft and fluffy that you get to train yourself. Now I'm going to discuss what is another process of adoption, and that is going through finding somebody to adopt your own animal. I personally went through this process. I lived right across the street from an animal shelter, and I volunteered there for months. And I enjoyed it. And of course, working with the animals firsthand, it means that you want to take one home with you every single day. So finally, I talked to my family and I was like, I'm ready to adopt. I really want to get an animal. I want to get a dog. We've always had cats. I want to get a dog. So I went through the process, and I found an amazing little guy, and I named him Bourbon. We brought him home that summer, and then the next school year was my senior year of high school. And things got busy really fast. I soon began to realize that maybe I had gotten in over my head, and I wasn't ready to take care of an animal of this extent. So I decided that it would be best for him if he went to a different home, because I thought he deserved better than what I was being able to give him at that time with my time frame. So I put him out on Craigslist with the help of my parents, and we found an amazing family for him. We went and met the family first by ourselves, and then we brought Bourbon along so that they can meet and greet, left him for a few hours so he could learn and play with them, and then finally we were like, okay, this family is great for him. I'm using him as an example to show that it's okay to not be able to take care of your animals sometimes. But the answer to not being able to take care of them is not to drop them on the streets or off at a shelter. There's an easy process you can go through, such as putting them out on Craigslist and making sure you find a good home for that animal before just abandoning them. Now I'm going to talk about adoption through donation. Organizations such as ASPCA, the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, do a ton of work to help animals in need. You can become a member of ASPCA for merely 60 cents a day, and if you calculate that up, that's less than $20 a month. $20 a month is not that much when you think of things in today's society. So why not give $20 towards a good cause rather than food or going to a movie? Through joining ASPCA, your money goes to getting resources needed to help the animals being abused. And the resources also provide medication for these animals so that they can become well adapted and they can become better to be able to be put up for adoption. Another organization is the American Humane Society. It's a similar organization with the same motto of rescuing animals who really need a home. They also take donations and volunteer work, and their motto also, and all your money there also goes to extremely helping out these animals in need. You may be thinking, whoa, this is a lot of information, a lot of options, but I'm not sure if I'm ready for any of them. That's okay, because yes, money can be an issue in today's society, and animals are a lot of responsibility, and some people may not be able to take that on immediately. But I'm going to talk to you next about the reward of being an owner of a loving animal who needs a home. The reward and joy one receives from going through a pet adoption process is above all that I have ever witnessed. It makes the money worthwhile and the responsibility a breeze. Some people say that animals don't really understand anything that's going on around them, so how can they know if they're being taken care of or not? But I guarantee animals can tell the difference between somebody who is hurting them and somebody who really cares about them. Having been a volunteer in different shelters, I have witnessed the saddest-looking animals finally getting a family to go home to and seeing them leave with a joyful spark in their eyes. Pet adoption is an amazing process that gives the animals a second chance to live, a second chance to be a friend and a loyal companion. That's why I'm asking you today to look at the facts and realize how much animals around the world need a loving home. Stand up for these animals and become a loving family to one or more of them through a magnificent process of adoption. You will not regret it, and the reward will be beyond anything you can imagine. As HumaneSociety.org states, we're there for all animals across America and around the world. And that's why I'm asking you today to be there for at least one, just one animal.